Good morning. I'm Bill McGarvey, Director of Training and Sustainability for Imperial Dade. Thank you for taking the time today to join us for our Value of Clean series. As always, we are recording this episode for future reference. Should you or some of your colleagues want to look back on today's episode, we will make that available to you. Before we start, I would ask that if you have any questions during the presentation, that you type them into the Q&A or the chat feature, and we'll address them along the way. After today, we will be taking a break until August. So if you have a topic or maybe some questions you would like answered within our series in an upcoming episode, please type that into the chat feature also, and we'll be in touch. And we'll have a little more information on that at the end of our presentation today. So today we are on episode 5, Spotless Hospitality, Polishing the Guest Experience. And again, our Value of Clean series is intended to, address your questions and challenges while looking at the critical role played by cleaning in enhancing business efficiency and cost reductions. Aimed at professionals throughout the cleaning industry, we hope to offer expert insights that can help you as you strive to continually improve your operations. So to provide some of that expertise, I'm joined today, get the next slide, here we go, by Steve Jung, our Director of Sales and Hospitality here at Imperial Dade, and John White, our Hospitality Manager. So John, if you would, please take a moment, turn your camera and your mic on, and just tell us a little bit about your role.
Thanks, Bill. I'm John White. I'm the Director of Hospitality. I run the Procter & Gamble program for Imperial Dade. I started back in the business back in 2000 as a sales and service technician. My job was and still is to sell hotels our local chemical programs from Procter & Gamble, Victoria Bay, and Spartan. Sell chemical tools as microfibers, tacky rollers, dusters and vacuums, paper for toilet paper, facial tissue, roll towels for the bathrooms, and can liners.
All right, great. Well, thanks, John, for being with us today. And Steve, I know you've been on the front lines of the hospitality industry for some time, so please take a few moments and share some of your journey that brought you here and the expertise you've gained along the way.
Thanks, Bill, and thank everybody for joining us today. So my journey is I've been fortunate enough to spend the early part of my career actually in the operations of hotels. And I've had the ability to spend a little bit of time on the food and beverage side and the room side. I participated in programs with Marriott, with IHG, with Hilton and Radisson, and then a few independents. Once I decided I actually wanted a weekend off, I decided to go over to the distribution side of the business. So over the last 25 years of my career, I've been helping the industry I came away from on ways to kind of address the guest demands, while taking into account the folks that are actually doing the hard job of cleaning.
Well, guys, I'm really glad you're both with us today. So to start us off, Steve, can you give us sort of a working definition for the word hospitality as it pertains to our discussion today?
Yeah, for Imperial Dade, hospitality is a very broad market, but I like to kind of sum it all up by saying it's the fun market. You know, it's everywhere that we want to go to enjoy ourselves, relieve ourselves, but also it's our home away from home for work. Imperial Dade's broad market of hospitality includes categories like cruise ships, arenas, kind of like the arena that the Nuggets won last night in, the sporting venues, amusement parks. But for the episode today, we're going to focus mostly on hospitality, or hotels is how we're going to define hospitality as we move through this webinar.
Okay, thanks, Steve. I think that helps clarify the topic a little bit for everyone. I know it certainly helps me because it is not my forte. So again, I'm very appreciative for you guys taking the time to help us out with this today. Steve, you mentioned on one of our planning calls that cleaning is a bit unique in hospitality as compared to some of the other market segments that we serve. Can you give us a little more detail on what you meant by that?
Yeah, I think everybody would agree to me that's in the hospitality world that the value of clean and hospitality truly is the difference between success and failure. You know, well, there's a lot of variables that determine the choice that the business traveler makes or the family makes. as for their home away from home, cleanliness is one of the key driving factors. Whether it's for, like I said, for me that travels constantly, I seek out something that's going to make sure that I stay safe and healthy. But again, as families go about it, they're looking for some place that delivers back a safe and clean environment. The impressions for a clean hotel start way before sometimes we perceive they do. It is perceived clean by what they see on the website. It starts as soon as they drive into the parking lot, and it carries throughout the entire experience at the hotel. So as we walk into the hotel, the first impressions in the lobby, the really crisp, clean uniforms that the staff is going to be wearing, whether it's at the front desk or at the bell stand. And it carries all the way through as we walk down the hallways and we see clean, organized maids carts. And then as we walk into the guest room and throughout the rest of the property. When a guest enters the hotel, they should feel relieved. They want to know that they made the correct choice. They should feel confident that everything that in that property is clean, and they want it to feel like everything is new. So again, the value of clean and hospitality is the key driving factor that's going to allow for them to return time and time again.
Okay, so our series is the value of clean, and you just mentioned that. So what are some of the drivers of value when we think of a quality cleaning program for hospitality, Steve?
Yeah, there's a number of driving factors that we think about when we talk about value of clean, but the true reason that we're here is to service our guests. Really what hotels sell, and I think sometimes we miss it, we sell sleep. So the idea that we want to make the experience a positive one based on cleanliness is driven by these key factors. Guest satisfaction, as I mentioned, that's the overriding issue or reason why we're here, is to deliver a very positive experience for our guests. When we do that, it allows for us to drive more revenue. Our ADRs go up. We get reoccurring guests that come back time and time again because of the health that they feel or the cleanliness that they feel in the hotels. And more importantly, it helps drive brand equity. I think we would all agree, as we fly a flag or even as an independent, when you have a good experience at a Hilton or a Marriott or a Wyndham, again, it starts driving the brand equity. It gives us a comfort level with that brand equity as we go throughout different locations in different regions in the country. Another key driving factor that I think I like to focus on the most coming from the operations hotels is the employee satisfaction and retention. We all talk about labor issues in all of the segments that we deal with. This was before the pandemic and after the pandemic. But I think we would all agree that anybody that has operated in a hotel, or especially in housekeeping, that cleaning rooms in the hotel is the most physically demanding job out there. Anybody that challenges me on that, I just have them go down and clean a couple rooms and see if they can actually walk and if they're willing to come back to work the next day. It's also, unfortunately, it's one of the lowest paying jobs in the hotel, and it typically brings the least amount of reward. We strive to give all the room attendants all the little extra perks that we can, but again, often the guests that we service, the feedback we typically get are, there's hair on my bed, they fill out a comment card, they misplace their earbuds and they say that the room attendants took it. So again, the rewards are limited a little bit. And even with all of that, we still expose these very, very important people in our hotels to some of the most caustic products. We also give them some of the least helpful tools to make their job easier. So all that said, I encourage everybody on this webinar, every time you go stay in a hotel, throw a bucket or two on those beds that you slept in, because it's very, very rewarding when you go down into a housekeeping department and you see somebody come back and make an extra 16 or 20 bucks. It's a really nice reward for them. And quite often, this is something that we as the consumer overlook. Another driving value or driver in hospitality is make sure that those folks, we give them all the right tools that they need. There's a lot of innovation out there that allows their jobs to be easier. It's a little less physically demanding. So again, with the tools that are able to be provided to the hoteliers and safer chemicals, it just makes for a better work experience for our employees. Therefore, they tend to want to hang around a little bit longer. Again, we want to sell these things on the fact that ownership and management are investing in tools to make their jobs easier. And I'll touch on that a little bit later. On the next one, actually. Efficiency is a key driver. Again, in hotels, we're really under a lot of pressure to turn and burn rooms. That's what we're all about. There's a lot of KPIs that are involved to make sure that we're turning rooms as quickly as we can. But again, if we use the term efficiency when we talk to our team, all they hear is that you're going to make me work harder and you're going to make me work faster. So again, we all want to drive toward the initiative of more efficient, but as long as we explain that the tools that we're investing in or the safety of the products that we're providing to our employees are there to make their jobs easier, they're more inclined to kind of do the jobs that we need them to do. And in their mind, they see an easier work environment when still we're trying to achieve that efficiency. We're just kind of terming it a little bit different and we're selling the value to our employees. Again, safety is one that I really, really like to focus on. Because we sell a lot of programs and products and chemicals, it's very, very important that we take care of that key asset to our company, and that's the employees. So if we want to make sure that the chemicals they use, the products they use are all going to be safe for them, and we're not going to be working with any or dealing with any OSHA experiences, and we just want to make sure that those folks are rewarded by the best tools in the industry to make sure that they're being taken care of. And the last driver that I like to focus on is healthy. We talked about products that are healthy and safe for our employees, but again, being able to market to our guests that things are like safer for my family, or we want to make sure that you're healthy for your next business trip. These are all messages that resonate with the consumer, but need to be visible and executed against. Again, as a business traveler myself, I really do pay attention to these key and the values of clean in hotels because of the fact I need to be back out on the road. I need to perform next week. And it's very, very important for me to experience that type of environment. And those are the places that I tend to go back to week after week. Thanks, Bill.
No, thank you, Steve. We all experienced the pandemic, and as you were talking there, I was sort of having some flashbacks to conversations with coworkers and friends that maybe tried to do a little traveling during the pandemic, and a lot of them came back. They were fine when they left, but when they came back, they had picked up something. So when you talk about trying to provide a healthy environment for people when they're traveling, be it business or pleasure, that's obviously really important because that all just comes back. Frankly, it comes back on the facility and the where they decided to actually stay. So as we went through that pandemic, we all witnessed a heightened emphasis on cleaning in general. And you've listed the drivers of value, but where would you say the state of cleaning is today, particularly within the hospitality segment?
Yeah, I think everybody that comes from the hotel industry is going to agree that, as is normal for hotels, all uncontrollable events play havoc on the hospitality market because we depend on folks seeking travel and fun and work and for fun. So whether that's H1N1 from years ago, unfortunately 9/11, or the pandemic, any uncontrollable factor truly impacts the hospitality industry probably more than any of them. The pandemic truly did shut down much of the industry, and we were forced to make huge changes on how hotels are operated. But the public now demands that their demands have forced that hotels resort back to the practices used before the pandemic. But consumers still want to know the hotel is clean. Guests are back to wanting a late checkout, or they want an early check-in. So they want daily cleaning more often than they did before. So a lot of the parameters that we had prior to the pandemic are being forced upon us again post-pandemic, and that's more guest-driven. In hotels, we don't have the luxury of some of the cleaning operations that we do in a lot of the other segments that we work in. I use the example of events where we typically get 24 hours to flip an event, a venue. We don't have that in hotels. In healthcare, we get 2+ hours to turn an operating room. Again, in hotels, typically we get about 30 minutes to flip a room, and sometimes even less. It's kind of people like me that come from the hotel operation at the front desk, and I tend to give late checkouts because I'm being a nice guy. And then 2 hours later, I'm yelling at the housekeeping to give me some rooms to check in the early check-ins.
That makes sense. Yeah, you made a strong case for cleaning, Steve. So where does reliance on a strong and trusted supply partner like Imperial Dade come into play?
Having a trusted partner that acts as an extension of your team, I believe, is key. In the world of e-commerce, which is very, very prevalent in our space, still don't think there's any replacement for having true live consultants that come in and work on behalf of your team. And that experience goes all the way through the live people that kind of bring the deliveries to your hotel. So again, I still think a true trusted partner is going to deliver their services in person through interaction at the property level. I think it's very, very important though, as we go in, don't try to think that every hotel does everything the same. So it's key for a supply partner to truly understand the operations in that specific hotel. What are your limitations? What are you trying to achieve? What is the image that you're trying to deliver to maximize your average daily rates? So again, for us to go in and expect that no two hotels are the same, regardless if they're the same brand, is key. I think it's really important that we provide simple solutions. We understand that we're working with a lot of turnover and a lot of challenges. So the idea if we provide fewer products that are coinciding with things like color codedness and everything that goes across all the language barriers are key to making sure that we achieve a very, very clean environment. We're going to touch on education in another slide coming up. But again, education is key throughout everything that we do. It's very, very important to ensure that the staff is using products correctly. But I think it's also very important that they understand why they're using them, what are we trying to achieve with them, and just making sure that we're taking the most advantage of those tools. Again, we brought it up a little earlier, but safety. It's really, really important that a trusted partner is going to deliver products that are going to be safe for your employees. It's going to be safe for the physical plant, so we're not doing harm to things like textiles and linen, the surfaces that we're trying to clean. Again, effectiveness. It's pretty important that folks aren't delivering products to you that don't actually do the job of cleaning. I hate to break it to everybody here, but Fabuloso really doesn't clean. Again, a lot of room attendants love the smell, but the idea is to provide something that really is going to be effective to make their jobs easier and work correctly. One of the last ones from a trusted supplier is to provide products that are going to actually achieve the guest satisfaction you're looking for. And a lot of this is through fragrance, making sure that products smell nice and pleasant for the users. But at the end of the day, when all the cleaning is done, we want that to be neutral clean. Again, the room attendants might like a lilac smell. I might like cinnamon and Bill might like cherry. But at the end of the day, we need to make every guest equally happy. And that comes with a neutral clean. And then the last component that I think a trusted supplier should take into account when they present a program to you is noise. It's something that we don't look at when we look at hotel cleaning. Again, it's really frustrating when you do everything right from the guest check-in, the cleanliness in the lobby, the room looks awesome. And at the end of the night, when I'm trying to get that sleep that I paid for, we take a little vacuum down the hallway that sounds like a 747 and it wakes me up. So it's very, very important that a supply partner would bring in solutions and options that deliver quiet. And again, that's something that tends to get overlooked a little bit. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I heard a couple things in there. One, it's sort of the idea that no two facilities are exactly alike, and I think that's key. That we don't just approach our customers with a cookie cutter approach. We've got a lot of different solutions, and we like to bring those to bear on behalf of our customers. And of course, as the director of training, I heard education in there, and that always makes my ears perk up. But could either of you share maybe like the 5 or so basic steps to cleaning a guest room?
Hey, Bill. Hey, the 5 steps of cleaning a guest room is first thing is you want to survey your room, see what you need to do. You need to go into the guest bathroom, remove all the soiled linen, the towels, and then go into the bedroom and strip the bed, remove all the dirty sheets. After you remove the linens, you want to go back into the bathroom and start cleaning by adding your disinfectant to your surfaces, to your shower walls, inside the tubs, inside the toilet, inside the sink. While you're letting your chemical work, you want to go back into your guest room and start cleaning all the fixtures with your all-purpose cleaner. After you're done applying chemicals and cleaning the bedroom, you go back into the bathroom and go ahead and start cleaning the tub, wiping the tub and shower walls down and rinsing, cleaning your toilet, inside the sink, the countertops, and mirrors. Once you're done cleaning with the bathroom, you want to go back to the bedroom. Go ahead and dust from top to bottom. Apply the sheets and make the bed and vacuum your way out.
Hey, so no shortage of work there to Steve's earlier point. And, it only took you a couple minutes there, but we know it takes a lot longer than that to actually get through a guest room and do it properly. So, and of course, there's a number of nuanced steps that will be covered in any formal training that we might provide to include not just the hows, but almost more importantly, the whys. I think that's a key piece of any employee training. We've got to provide the why. Why is this important? Why is what we're asking you to do so valuable to the organization? So I think that's a key piece, as well as I heard earlier, we mentioned color-coded cloths and tools to help prevent that cross-contamination, methods to clean smarter, not harder. So, a number of things, and of course, the safety concerns, because we always want to provide or prevent injuries to staff as well as guests. So, having looked at the basic steps, where or how does Imperial Dade augment or support an operation? And I'll make that an all play. Either one of you could answer that one for us.
As Imperial Dade, we take pride in our service technicians. Our service technicians work directly with the customer. You'll be scheduling a site survey to go over your laundry equipment. You'll be working with them directly for installations, for training, and also for service calls.
Yeah, and I'd like to add a little bit to what John just said. Again, if you work in an operation today, as we're out there working with hoteliers, GMs, directors of housekeeping and rooms, number one thing they ask when we talk about chemical programs or anything else is the support that comes along with it. It's no different than the operations of hotels, is how the guest is treated upon check-in or when they request something from their room that's a little bit extra determines a lot of the guest satisfaction. So we take that same initiative when we work and to partner up with hotels. The idea that you treat everybody like a VIP is a daunting task to do day after day. And I just believe a supply partner should be treating a hotel that same way, like a VIP. So as we're out there in front and working with teams in the field, the true level of service is the number one component that we get questioned about. And that's something that we've invested a lot of time and money in. And again, John had mentioned that starts with before we even come in or before we even start the partnership and going in and actually assessing the equipment you have, the current program you have, the conditions of the water you have, and all the variables that truly do impact the results when we do programs like laundry, for instance. Again, when you go through an install at a hotel, that's very, very disruptive to the daily operations when you're trying to flip those rooms in 30 minutes and you're making everybody happy. So again, we address those topics and we try to work within the schedule of the hotel to do as little disruption as possible. And comprehensive training is great, but again, in the world of sales, we all need to be told things multiple times before we truly understand them. And I think that's often the same case when we're doing that in hotels. Again, we do initial training, but ongoing training is key to success and making sure that we're achieving that ongoing goal. And again, once we get everything installed and we're up and running, then the partnership is truly developed. We don't walk away there. We believe the ongoing service is a differentiator between us and most of our other competitors in the industry. Again, it's great that you have a program that works today, but you need to make sure that you can trust somebody that's going to come in and do preventative maintenance when you need it and reactive services when things happen to go a little bit awry. So again, we've learned from you, the hoteliers, that this is a key point that drives a good partnership, and we've invested a lot of time and money to truly understand it and deliver back.
That's great. Thank you both for that. So Steve, as we draw towards our close, we still got plenty of time for Q&A here at the end, but we've talked a lot about cleaning, but how is cleaning defined or measured? I guess, again, particularly in the hospitality world.
Well, I guess good or bad, we have no shortage of critiques in hotels, and we have no shortage of checks and balances. You can call them KPIs, you can call them checks and balances, but we have many levels of folks critiquing us. And some of them are very, very helpful in hotels. Again, many hotels have the GMs will do daily walkabouts. So they'll walk around the hotel, engage with their employees, but truly what they're doing is looking around the physical plant. They're checking for broken things. They're checking for cleanliness. They're being that first eye, that first impression that we talked about. And again, hotel or GMs, that's one way for them to become really visible to their employees and drive relationships with their employees. It's also common that hotels exercise a program called MOD, or a manager on duty. Often this is somebody that walks around the hotel, fills out reports, and checks on all the cleanliness and the condition of the hotel. In some of the hotels, they actually spend the night or the weekend. So they truly get to experience the hotel from the guest perspective. And in some of those programs, they're heavily encouraged to take advantage of the restaurant, the swimming pool, and all the services that the hotel offers to ensure that what the guest is going to get experience is a positive experience. More so, we also do room inspectors. It's not uncommon to have housekeeping departments that have room inspectors that go out and do spot checks once we do a checked out room and we clean it, to ensure that everything is in place, everything's being managed properly. So when that guest walks in, the wow factor is going to be what hits them. And again, that first impression is going to be positive. And many of the brands in hotels also have physical inspections. Again, a Hilton or a Marriott quite often will walk the property once a year to make sure the physical plant represents their brand positively. It also allows for them to come in and kind of give upgrade recommendations or PIPs in a hotel. So again, we have the brands coming in and making sure that we're representing positively. There's another level of it beyond the brand. Quite often a management company might come in that manages those properties, and they too will do inspections to make sure that everything is where it needs to be, to make sure they're driving that high level profit that we're looking for. And they're not used as much, but historically they used to do things like secret shoppers, where companies would pay people like me to come in and act like a guest and stay in that hotel and be a CSI, and maybe make sure that the front desk has a name tag, make sure that I was pleasantly greeted, make sure the room expectation is there. Again, that's another level of checks and balances. And then we all have to deal with the TripAdvisor scores and the guest satisfaction scores and the comment cards. I think these are all really good positive feedbacks, but it's a lot more fun when we're going online and answering all the guest TripAdvisor scores, when you get to type in and say, I'm very, very happy that you enjoyed your stay. We can't wait to see you again, versus I'm sorry to hear this happened because of cleanliness. So again, our job is to come in and make sure that those TripAdvisor scores, at least as it pertains to clean, is going to be positive. So you get to type in that nice little short message and say, can't wait to see you again.
It's interesting. You started with just the walkabouts, and reminds me of an old management adage, MBWA, management by walking around. And all too often, I think we see folks get into that management level, and they get inundated with the paperwork, and they don't get out of the office. And you got to get out of the office to see what's going on. So again, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for coming on today and sharing your expertise with everybody. So now it's time to see if we have some questions that need answers. So Dawson, what do we have?
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on and talking about hospitality. Your insights are very valuable to us, and it's great to learn some new things from you. I see 4 questions in the Q&A right now, so if anyone else has any other questions, be sure to get those in the next couple of minutes and we will get to them. I'll start with this first one from Brian. He asks, Steve, in your experience, where does air care rank amongst the elements that contribute to the guest experience?
I think air care, again, we talked about fragrance or olfactory on one of the topics. And I think air care, again, is one that's overlooked, but it's very, very important. And this spans across not just hospitality, but every other segment, restaurants. Again, walking into a hotel, if there's a bad smell, our perception is, what does the rest of this place look like? And again, positive smells in the lobby often are something that you would prefer to be neutral clean. But again, there's programs out there today that are pumping air into the lobby to make a pleasant smell. And a lot of those fragrances represent the regions that you're in. I mean, if you're into the ocean, it's nice to have an ocean fragrance. I live in Colorado. Quite often we're asked to pump in a nice fragrance of pine or something there. But again, we want to make sure that it's not too overwhelming to think that we're trying to cover something up, but it's a pleasant experience. That's also something when we do restroom surveys, I get it. Those aren't the most exciting things in the world to do, but we're looking at a really organized restroom. Automation is key, but the number one thing that really drives an impression in a restroom is the smell. And again, restrooms represent an opportunity for smell quite often, but we have to make sure that we invest in solutions that address that. The other part, though, is the guest room. When you walk into a guest room, yeah, there can be smells that are negative smells that we're going to come across, whether you have kitchenettes in like a Homewood Suites or something, and something was cooked in that room. We need to make sure that we have the right products that are going to address that. And again, we deal with things like smoke odor. Through the education that we do with smell in hotel rooms, we kind of want to educate around the fact that what does an air freshener do and what does an odor counteractant do? Because quite often, those negative smells are in the fabrics, the curtains, the carpets. Again, I'm in Colorado. Everybody's kind of allowed for legalized marijuana, but we really had to invest a lot of time in how do we eliminate the odor of things like that in a room, because unfortunately that happens often. So I think that's a great question, and it's truly something that needs to be focused on to deliver that guest satisfaction that we initially talked about.
That's great. Question from Lindsay. What products would you recommend for high touch items in areas such as TV remotes, door handles, elevator buttons, etc.?
Within there's two types of cleaning products that we use when we're doing public space or the hotel rooms. There's daily cleaning products, and then there's like the PM cleaning. For those high touch areas, one is we want to make sure that's a true part of our daily cleaning procedure. We want to make sure that we're hitting those remote controls, those buttons. That's why in a lot of the programs that you're going to be using today in the daily cleaners, we want to make sure that they are disinfectants. Whether that's a hospital grade disinfectant, we need to look at some things that didn't exist in the hotels prior to, and this is not offensive to hotels, it just was we were under the pressure of turning rooms. But again, EPA N-lists, products that were registered to be hospital grade disinfectants, understanding what dwell times mean and how that achieves disinfection, those are really never things that we dealt with in hotels. I think during the pandemic, we all recognized that everybody bought electrostatic sprayers to hit those high touch surfaces. Truly, those were never things that were taken advantage of in hospitality. But today, it really, really is important that the daily cleaning products that you're using have the ability to disinfect as they clean. And it's very, very uncommon now, if you have a good supply partner, that they're not recommending products like a 3-in-1. Again, that drives that efficiency. It drives that easier program for the room attendants. But the 3-in-1 usually represents an all-purpose cleaner. It represents a hospital-grade disinfectant. In a lot of cases, it represents a glass cleaner. So the idea is as we're cleaning, we're disinfecting as well.
Awesome. Got two questions here that kind of go together, so I'll ask them together. How can hospitality businesses maintain a balance between providing personalized service and leveraging automation for efficiency? And on top of that, do you see more hotels utilizing robotics to help with labor issues?
I think we would all agree. We have another one of our expos coming up in California, and you will see automation is truly out there and is kind of on the cutting edge of offering solutions for us. So there's a lot of the automation that in hotels has a place. And a lot of times the automation is something that is really appreciated by the guests. But we also have to take into account a very safe work environment. So the automation I see in most of the hotel worlds are automated vacuums that truly do things like I spoke before, up and down the hallways at night, where we're actually having a lot of labor contributed to a 12-inch vacuum vacuuming a hallway. To invest in robotics and vacuums in a hallway that gets set loose at night when there's very little guest traffic. So it really doesn't impact the guest experience. we're seeing a lot of that invested in. The other places where you're seeing a lot of that innovation or that robotics is in the banquet rooms or some of the very, very large areas where you can set these things loose and they're going to actually represent an entire employee that works overnight or in the off hours. Again, setting loose a vacuum during the middle of the day or an auto scrubber in the middle of a day in a hotel is something that truly does save a little bit of labor, but often with the traffic that we have in hotels, it is a little bit it impacts the guest satisfaction a little bit differently. So again, I encourage robotics. I encourage looking at the investments. It's true. But most of where I see it being employed in hospitality is the bigger banquet spaces, the large hallways, and all of those things where we can eliminate or reallocate the labor hours that were to vacuum a 50, 60,000 square foot banquet room really can take up an employee's that we could reallocate to another task.
Great. Last question here. What emerging trends are shaping the future of the hospitality industry, and how can businesses adapt to them?
I think the trends that I'm seeing again are, some of the trends are things that were employed before the pandemic. Right now, post-pandemic, we're employing a lot of the things that we did before. A lot of the guest satisfaction is predicated on the fact that they're asking for more amenities. They want to know what goes on before they get to the hotel, whether it's electronic check-ins. I still believe that a lot of guests still like to do the personal check-in. They like people in contact and they like to have that experience to ask questions. But you're seeing a lot more of the e-commerce remote interaction. You are seeing a lot of different amenities being offered in hotels that weren't offered before. There's investments in the food experience that you have in hotels. Historically, nobody wanted to eat in the hotel restaurant. Now you're seeing a lot of the restaurants and hotels rebranding themselves as a higher end restaurant, that the goal is to keep everybody in that hotel to eat at our restaurant, but they also want to bring outside guests to come in and eat as well. I also do think that the idea of, like I said, additional amenities, you're seeing things like even in branded hotels where they're bringing unique amenities in the rooms to not be a cookie cutter type of program. Whether you stay in a Hilton property or a Marriott property, while there's brand standards that unify everything that you are going to experience throughout, everybody likes to experience what that area, what that community, what that geography represents. Again, I live in Colorado. Everybody wants a little bit of spin on the mountains and the tree huggers and skiing and all that kind of stuff. But then you go down to the ocean and you want a little different experience. So I think you're seeing within the brands themselves, there's a lot of exceptions being honored to give a little bit more of a personal experience for that region. And I do also think on the cleaning side of it, which this is all about, is during the pandemic, I mentioned we wanted to be visible. It referenced the fact that we were cleaning. And again, historically, cleaning was something that should be happening behind the curtain. We didn't want to see it. We didn't want to hear it. We just expected that it happened. The trend now is we still don't want somebody out there vacuuming in the lobby as we're trying to sit there and have a cocktail or watch TV, but you still want to know what happens. So the trend I'm seeing in cleaning is still some visible cleaning that's going on. But again, probably not somebody with electrostatic sprayer that's covering the entire lobby just to prove that we're actually doing something. So those are some of the key trends that we're seeing.
That's great. That's all the questions we have, so I will throw it back to you, Bill.
Okay, well, Steve and John, I was really glad to have you guys on earlier, but after Dawson tossed those not exactly softballs for questions, I'm really glad you guys were here. So as I mentioned earlier, we will be taking a bit of a hiatus until August with our series. But again, if there's anything that you'd like to see covered in an upcoming episode, please, you can type that in, or you can actually hit the QR code that's on the screen right now, get a picture of that. This will actually help. You can give us some feedback, but also we can make sure that you are informed when we get ready to do our next episode. I'd like to take a moment now to once again thank our sponsors for today's presentation, Rubbermaid and P&G. You may have seen them on our countdown slide before we started today, but these series would not be possible without the support of our vendor partners. And to you, our valued customers, without you, none of us would be here. So we truly appreciate you dedicating time to be with us, and we hope that you'll let your counterparts know about the series. Again, we have recorded it, so they are available. And we hope to see you soon on another episode of The Value of Clean. In the meantime, please reach out to your Imperial Dade sales consultant. If you don't have one, reach out to your local Imperial Dade branch to let us know how we can help you take better care of your customers. So until next time, I'm Bill McGarvey signing off and reminding us all, let's get it clean, but safely.